Hello and welcome. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and in this tutorial, I'm going to share some tips for learning to play All of Me by Jon Schmidt. This happens to be the theme song I play at the start of most of my own Hoffman Academy video lessons, and it's been one of our most requested pieces to create a tutorial for. The difficulty level for this piece is early advanced. It's fast and quite challenging. So if you'd like an easier version of this piece, please check out my intermediate level tutorial to learn a simplified but still very exciting version of All of Me. But if you're feeling ready for the full advanced version, let's get started by checking out the score. When I start a new piece, a few things I'm always checking out: the clefs. We would expect to see treble and bass, right? But taking the time to double check, we see we have treble clef for both hands. And then what is our key signature? 5 flats. Puts us in the key of D flat major. Now, some people panic when they see a whole bunch of flats or sharps, but I just stay calm and relax because this is easy. Basically, everything is flat except C and F. So rather than stress like, oh, what are all the notes that are flat? I just imagine that everything is flat, parentheses, except for C and F. So just kind of assume, if you see a note, that it's going to be flat except for those C's and F's. And then you'll be in great shape. 4/4 time signature. And also, it's very important to check your tempo indication freely, like a fanfare. A fanfare is like an introduction to something. This is the introduction to the piece. And when a composer says freely, it gives you the liberty to not play like you're playing along with a metronome with a very exact tempo. You might speed some notes up. You might slow some notes down with the flow of the music. Now, because the rhythms of this piece are probably one of its trickiest aspects, I recommend that you take the time to write the counts in your music, like this. When you're writing in count, make sure you're lining up the notes with the correct counts. And then as you're learning it, count out loud. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And when you have a fermata, you can pause for a moment. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And note on the 16th notes, we have to fit both 16th notes inside the and. So at first you'll be very exact with your rhythms, but then once you feel like you have the notes mastered, then try it freely, more like this. Notice how I sped these eighth notes up, and then I slowed these eighth notes down as I came up to the fermata. That's part of playing it freely. There's no one right or wrong, but try to go with the flow of the notes. Usually you're going to build up the energy by going a little faster to the middle of a phrase and then slow down a little bit at the end of the phrase. Let's also look at the counting for measures 5 and 6. Notice that because we have a 16th note here going to a dotted 8th note, this note will come right in between the 4 and the and then because this is a triplet, a 16th note triplet, all 3 fit inside the and of 2. So again, learn with counting out loud at first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then eventually you'll get it faster. Now, I'm assuming that Jon Schmidt has big hands like me, and so both of us can reach these bigger chords like this. That's the interval of a ninth from that G flat up to the A flat. If that's too big of a stretch for you, you can do a little trick. And it's sometimes marked like this with a little scooped line, which says, take that note and play it with your left hand. See, the left hand's playing this B flat, which isn't that far away from this G flat. So your left hand could play both of these notes, and your right hand can play these top 2 notes. And then same thing here. We've got another big hand chord that reaches the interval of a ninth. If that's too far for you to reach, just take this note and this note with your left hand. See, your left hand's on this A flat, so it's really easy to include that D with your left hand. Another place you might want to do that is right here. Okay, so for smaller hands, if you can only reach an octave or not even an octave, you'll definitely want to move those notes down to the left hand. Totally okay to do that. Let's listen to this intro fanfare section. And then we get to the fun, exciting, fast section. As I mentioned, there in measure 12, if you want to take that D flat in the left hand, see how easy that is to do it like that? Otherwise, you're doing this. Bit of a stretch even for me. So I may just do that same adjustment, take this in the left hand, and then on that next chord as well. No real reason to do that stretch when your left hand can so easily take that. Once we get into measure 15, the mood's going to change dramatically. And John Schmidt indicates this with this new tempo indication, fast. Put all of yourself into it, this fast metronome speed, and you'll notice all these accents. They're going to be very important for the style and the feel of this piece. Notice we've gone from bass clef back into treble clef here. It's going to be very helpful, again, to write in the count so we can do these rhythms accurately from the start. So don't try to play it fast at first. We've got to go slow to get these rhythms right. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and try and start putting in the accents from the start, even when you're practicing it slowly. So you start to get the feel of those beats and those strong accents. Once you feel like you know the notes, add in metronome. I would recommend starting at about 160 beats per minute on your metronome, and that's going to be your eighth note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... It might feel really tedious to do it that way, but it will really help your rhythms to be correct. Trust me. Once you can do that with no pauses and no missed notes, you'll gradually speed that up to 200, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. And then once you can do it at 200, cut it in half to 100, and now this is your quarter note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then gradually speed that up all the way to John Schmidt's suggested minimum speed of 176. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, here in measure 31, notice the 8 VA, and all of these accents are super important to help the melody line pop out. Otherwise, it just sounds like, a bunch of just random notes, but these accented notes create the melody. They also give this piece its rhythmic energy. You'll notice there's groups of 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. 4 groups of 3 and then 2 groups of 2/8 notes forms the rhythmic backbone of this piece. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Notice that pattern, and that repeats throughout this. So try and bring out those accents as you're learning this. That will help bring the piece alive. One thing I want to point out in measure 47 is I suggest a 5-2 fingering for the left hand on beat 1 of measure 47. And that frees up your finger 1 to handle this D flat. You want to do as few hand shifts as possible when you're playing a fast piece like this. So you could do a 5 and 1 here. That might feel more natural, but then your finger 1 is going to have to jump up really fast. But if you use a 2-5 or 5-2, then your finger 1 is already prepared for that high D. It's going to save you time and energy. And then same thing in measure 49, do a 2-5 here on this B flat, G flat, again, so your finger 1 can be free to play that B flat. And then just shift down, 5-2, 1-2 for that section. And then comes my very favorite part of the whole piece. Because you just get to really go for it. Fortissimo, lots of accents. Notice John Schmidt marks accent simile. Simile in music is a composer's way of saying, I'm bored of writing the same symbols over and over again. Just keep doing the same thing. So he's saying keep those accent patterns going of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Keep doing that same accent pattern. Hear those accents? They bring the piece alive. Very important. Let me give you some tips for your left hand. Nice strong staccato there. And then pedal down. So I do pedal up here. So we get that silence in measure 54. You get a nice strong staccato and then you kind of go for it. In measure 55, I suggest for the left hand a finger 5-2, then 1-2. And notice that allows your hand to not do extra shifts. You're already going to be going back and forth a lot with the left hand. So whenever possible, try to combine or think about fingerings that allow you to minimize how much you're moving your hand around. And that's exactly what this 5-2, 1-2 fingering does. Okay, then you have to move back down. And we're here in measure 57. Again, do a 2-5, 1-2. See how that keeps my hand from having to move around more than it needs to. 2-5, 1-2, back to 2-5, 1. Again, 2-5, 1-2. Now I'm here in measure 63, and then 2-5, 1-2. If you do some other fingering, you're going to end up shifting on every single chord, which is a waste of energy. Do 2-5, 1-2, 2-5, 1-2. A smart fingering can save a lot of effort. Now let me give you some tips on how to play this fast. I've always been a big believer that slow is fast. The fastest way to get fast is by practicing slow. That's what I mean by slow is fast. So it's annoying because it doesn't even sound like the real piece that slowly. But that's how you will get fast. You've got to go slow at first. Make sure you know each note really accurately and carefully. Also, one trick to playing fast is making sure your fingers are relaxed when they play. You want to find good fingerings, and then just let your fingers stay close to the keys. You can't play fast if your fingers are flying everywhere. A good pianist keeps fingers close to the keys in a relaxed piano shape. Notice my fingers aren't flying around. I'm keeping them close to the keys, relaxed. If I'm doing this, my fingers, I can never play that fast if my fingers are flying everywhere. Keep them close to the keys, keep them relaxed, and start slow. Use metronome and gradually increase when you can play with no pauses and no missed notes. Another trick is do small sections. Try to master one small section at a time. Focus on the section that you're having the most trouble with and keep repeating it until you've mastered it. If you start at the beginning, you're wasting time. Skip to the place in your practice where you need to focus. Focus on those hard parts. Repeat until they feel easy, and then connect it back in. And with enough slow practice, eventually you'll be playing at full speed. And then a really fun section. Now in this next section, starting at measure 79, I call this the B section of the piece. The mood changes a little bit, and so I like to bring the volume down a bit. The sheet music doesn't say so, but I'd bring it down to like a mezzo piano or mezzo forte, and then really focus on these accents. Here I'm like really overdoing it. Really overdo those accents, and it will make a melody line pop out. If you don't accent it that strongly, it's just going to sound like just a bunch of repeating notes. It's not very exciting. But if you bring out those accents, notice how that melody is popping out, that A flat, D flat, E. And then I'm making those other eighth notes super soft. Accent, accent, accent. And then notice that we've got a few accents all in a row. Now, at full speed, those accents will really create an interesting melody, and again, make those other eighth notes really soft. Listen. Okay. If you ignore the accents, you lose out on a lot of fun music making. Now in measure 93, you've got another situation where your hands are sharing a key. So just play nicely, get your left hand in a position where it can share this A flat. You've got together, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, together, together. And then full speed. And I like to just use my finger 3 and just kind of come up above my right hand like this. And here, to make those eighth rests really pop, I lift my pedal up. If you don't lift your pedal, you're going to obliterate those rests because the sound's going to keep going. So here, see, I like a nice crisp sound there. I almost play these chords staccato with my pedal up to give it a nice, refreshing, crisp sound. Here's back in measure 96. Pedal up, pedal back down. Pedal up. Now, here comes the really fun part. Maybe my favorite part in the whole piece. I think I already said that. Maybe I have two favorite parts in this piece. Here's where you get to use your arm. Notice John Schmidt marks in this music this wild-looking chord. It's just a whole bunch of notes with a little asterisk. Use your left forearm. So you're just going to kind of lean in a little bit. And from your elbow up to your wrist and fist, I just kind of make a gentle little fist. And you're just going to play a whole bunch of notes in a row, kind of in this middle area of the piano. You're not going to do it too loud. You don't want it to sound ugly. It's just supposed to make a little magical sounding splash sound. So with your pedal down, just see if you can get a nice, happy, cheerful splash sound there. Almost like if you're playing the cymbals. And then with the right hand in, it's going to sound really awesome. And keep your pedal down through this whole section. And to get that, you're going to have to lean in a little bit. See how cool that sounds? And then your right hand gets a turn to do the same thing. So with your right hand, see if you can try making that sound. You want it to sound happy, not like a stomping gorilla. You know, don't want it too loud. Just try to make it a nice, cheerful sound. Okay, you'll have lots of fun with this section. John Schmidt in the music says, or you can select any portion of the chord to play with your fingers if playing with your arm takes you too far out of your comfort zone. Well, I say just cross that out. Sorry, to play this song, you have to get out of your comfort zone enough to be able to do this. It's just so much cooler with that. So sorry, no, don't do what he says and like do it that way. You got to use your arm to play this song, okay? Go big or go home. Got to use your arm. It's the only way to play this. And then after this arm smashing part, it goes back to our main theme, but it's a little different. So you've got to watch out. Composers like to change things up, so don't assume it's going to be exactly the same as before. Notice this time the left hand is up higher, but then it's like the bass drop. Oh, and something new right there in measure 126. And here's a little something new too. Let's check it out in the sheet music. One of the trickiest things in music, in my opinion, is when you're repeating something, but then the composer changes it just a little bit. And John Schmidt does that here to make things more interesting. Starting here in measure 130, watch out because this section, it sounds like you're playing everything just like before, but this time it's going to be a little different. Watch out for those accents. It makes for a really fun variation on what you did before. Now, here's a little pro tip that I learned from watching John Schmidt himself in concert. He doesn't play this part, okay? He does, see this note right here? And I kind of wish this were bigger, or they just made the music do this exactly. Starting right here in measure 137, and these instructions really should have been printed here in my opinion, because starting in measure 137, what John Schmidt himself does when he plays this is he plays the same thing that you see in measures 71 through 74. Which is just the main theme. Okay, go back to measure 71 to 74 to check, but you'll see it's just the main original theme. And you play that instead of this. And again, this is what John Schmidt himself does. I think it's a better ending. It sounds better, in my opinion, than this. So go back and just play measures 71 through 74 again. And then when you get down here to measure 141 to 142, what John Schmidt does is he plays this section of 2 measures. He plays this 3 times in a row. Or you could think of just playing it once and then repeat 2 more times. But in essence, you're playing these 2 measures 3 times in a row. Hear how I did that 3 times in a row, and then he does the ending. And I think that makes for a really exciting ending because it kind of builds up that tension by doing this again, 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 and then the finale. So that's how I recommend that you perform it. Also, it matches what John Schmidt himself does, and I think it's the best ending. So let's listen to it from 129 to the end. You're going to have so much fun learning this piece. A few final tips. Stay relaxed. This piece is intense, and I want you to play with good piano posture, and I don't want your wrists to start hurting. If you're playing with a lot of tension and trying to play fast and all these big chords, your wrists are going to start to hurt, your fingers, your arms, your back. Okay? To have good, healthy piano playing for more advanced pieces like this, you need to stay relaxed. And that's why slow playing can help too, because it trains your muscles to stay relaxed as they play. And then as you speed it up, make sure you're letting your hand glide through the notes, finding the easiest way to play. Okay, look, I can do it like that and move my fingers a lot and make a lot of motion. The most efficient, relaxed way to play doesn't take a lot of finger movement. Okay, you're trying to find the most relaxed, comfortable way to play. See how floppy my hand looks? And that's how you want to feel. You want your arm to feel floppy while you play. So if I came up at any time and just picked up your arm, it would look like this. Someone picks up your arm, it should just go limp. With thoughtful practice, you're going to master this song and have so much fun playing it. Great job getting started learning how to play All of Me by John Schmidt. Remember to support the composer by purchasing your own copy of the sheet music using the link below. Thanks for watching and happy practicing.